The lights flickered again on Deck 7, and Daewon made another note on his tablet. Third time this shift, the maintenance crews kept promising they would fix the power grid down here. But promises meant little when you were stationed in the part of the ship nobody wanted to visit. He walked the corridor slowly, his boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. On both sides of the hallway, thick walls of reinforced material held back the things that scared the galaxy. Behind those walls were creatures from 100 different nightmares. Things with too many teeth, things with no face at all, things that could kill you just by thinking about it hard enough. Daewon had been working this shift for 6 months now. When he first arrived on the Celestial Harmony, the other species had looked at him with something like pity. Humans were new to the Galactic Coalition. Most aliens still thought of them as small and weak. Soft things from a small world. They gave humans the jobs nobody else wanted, and nobody wanted to guard the monsters in the dark. But Daewon did not mind. The night shift was quiet. The creatures in their cells did not judge him. They did not treat him like he was less than them. They just existed, and he existed, and that was enough. His communicator buzzed. Daewon, this is Control. We are seeing some unusual readings from Sector 7. Can you check Containment Cell 47? On my way, Daewon replied. He changed direction, heading toward the cell at the end of the corridor. Cell 47.
Everyone on the ship knew about Cell 47.
It held what the scientists called Subject 47, but what everyone else called the Void Ripper. The name was not poetic. It was literal. The creature had ripped through the void of space and torn apart 3 moons before the Coalition managed to capture it. 12 meters tall, made of shadow and crystal, claws that could cut through starship armor like paper. Daewon had seen it only once through the observation window during his orientation. He had felt cold just looking at it. Not the cold of temperature, but the cold of being near something that existed outside the normal rules of life and death. He reached the cell and checked the control panel. His blood went cold for a different reason now. The containment field was at 60% power and dropping. As he watched, it fell to 58%. Control, we have a problem. The containment field is failing. There was a pause. Then a different voice came on, sharp and worried. This was Commander Vex, the ship's security chief. His species had 4 arms and skin like blue stone, and he never sounded worried. Repeat that, Corporal. Cell 47. Containment field at 56% and falling. Rate of decline is accelerating. Lock down Sector 7 immediately. All personnel evacuate. This is not a drill. Alarms began to scream throughout the deck. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Daewon heard running footsteps as the few other workers on this shift ran for the exits. He started to follow, then his communicator buzzed again. It was not Control this time. It was a private channel. Daewon? This is Hana. I am in Observation Lab 7C. The door is jammed. I cannot get it open. Hana. Dr. Hana. Another human. She was a xenobiologist who studied the creatures in containment. She was brilliant and kind, and she always remembered to ask Daewon how his day had been. Hana, where is 7C? Adjacent to Cell 47. The power failure must have locked the magnetic seal. I need you to override it from the outside. Daewon looked at the containment field reading. 42%. Hana, they are going to jettison this whole sector. You need to get out now. I know. That is why I called you. Please hurry. On my way. He ran back down the corridor against the flow of evacuation. An alien worker with 6 legs and crystal eyes grabbed his arm as he passed. Wrong way, human. That thing is about to break free. Someone is trapped, Daewon said, pulling away. He kept running. Commander Vex, this is Corporal Daewon. Dr. Hana is trapped in Observation Lab 7C. I'm going to get her. Negative, Corporal. Return to the evacuation point immediately. Jettison sequence has already started. You have 8 minutes. She will die if I leave her. You will both die if you stay. That is an order. Daewon turned off his communicator. He would face the consequences later. If there was a later. He reached the observation lab and found the door sealed tight. The manual override panel was dark. No power. He pulled the emergency release, a mechanical backup that should work even without electricity. The door did not move. Through the small window in the door, he could see Hana. She was on the floor, blood on her forehead from where something had hit her. She was trying to stand but kept falling. Concussion, probably. Daewon looked around desperately. There had to be another way. Then he saw it. The maintenance tunnel. It was not meant for people, just for repair robots, but he might fit if he took off his jacket and squeezed. He opened the tunnel hatch and crawled inside. The space was barely wide enough for his shoulders. He pulled himself forward with his arms inch by inch. His communicator started buzzing again, but he could not reach it to turn it off. He just crawled forward in the dark, following the tunnel toward the lab. Somewhere behind him he heard a sound like breaking glass mixed with tearing metal. The containment field had failed. The Void Ripper was free. Day One crawled faster. His shoulders scraped against the tunnel walls. His hands were bleeding from pulling himself over rough edges. He did not care. The tunnel ended at another hatch and he kicked it open. He fell out into the observation lab, landing hard on his shoulder. Hana looked at him with wide eyes. "You came. Can you walk?" "I think so. My head hurts. We need to move. Now." He helped her stand, putting her arm around his shoulders. She was heavier than she looked, or maybe he was just tired. They moved toward the door, but it was still sealed. "The maintenance tunnel," Hana said. "We can go back that way. You will not fit with your head injury. You might pass out in there." Day One looked at the door. "There is another way out. Through the main corridor. That is where the Void Ripper is." "I know." He used the emergency crowbar from the wall kit to force the door open. The manual release was broken, but the door itself was just stuck. With enough force, it moved. It opened onto the main corridor. The Void Ripper stood 30 meters away. It was bigger than Day One remembered. Much bigger. Its body seemed to absorb the light around it, making the corridor darker just by existing. Crystalline spikes grew from its back and arms, each one glowing with a faint purple light. Its eyes, so many eyes, turned to look at them. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in an instant. Every instinct in Day One's body screamed at him to run, to close the door and find another way. But there was no other way, and they had maybe 3 minutes before this entire section of the ship was fired into the nearest star. He set Hana down gently against the wall. She tried to hold on to him. "Day One, do not," but he was already walking forward. His legs shook. His hands were cold, but he walked toward the creature that had destroyed worlds, and when he was 10 meters away, he stopped. He looked up at it. He met its many eyes. The Void Ripper moved. It leaned down, bringing its massive head closer to him. Its mouth opened, showing teeth made of darkness. Day One could smell something like ozone and frost. He did not run. He did not look away. He spoke, his voice somehow steady. "I need to pass. She is hurt. I am taking her to safety. You can kill me after if you want, but let me get her through first." The corridor was silent except for the distant sound of alarms. The Void Ripper stared at him. All its eyes focused on the small human who refused to flee. Then it moved. But not toward him. It pressed itself against the corridor wall, its massive body compacting somehow, creating a narrow passage, an opening just wide enough for a person to walk through. Day One did not waste time being surprised. He went back to Hana, lifted her onto his shoulders, and walked. He walked past the creature that could end him with a thought. He kept his eyes forward, but he could feel its presence like weight on his back. He could hear its breathing, slow and deep like the sound of a distant ocean. He reached the emergency bulkhead at the end of the corridor. He set Hana down and hit the seal button. The door began to close. As it did, Day One looked back one more time. The Void Ripper was still there, still watching. Its head tilted slightly, a gesture that seemed almost like curiosity. Then the door sealed shut between them. Day One picked up Hana again and ran for the evacuation point. Behind him, he heard a grinding sound. The jettison sequence was supposed to fire the entire sector into space. It did not fire. Something had broken the mechanism. He found out later that the Void Ripper had damaged the release system. They were trapped on the ship together now. A creature that could destroy moons and a crew that had nowhere to run. On the bridge, every screen showed the same impossible image. The human walking past the monster letting him pass. Nobody understood why, not yet. But they would learn. The galaxy was about to discover something about humans that would change everything, and it started with a security guard on the night shift, who looked at a nightmare and saw something else, something that could choose mercy. The medical bay was chaos. Doctors from 6 different species rushed around, treating the minor injuries from the evacuation. Hana lay on a bed while a medical scanner checked her head injury. Day One sat in a chair nearby, his hands bandaged, staring at nothing. He kept seeing those eyes, all those crystal eyes watching him, the way the Void Ripper had moved aside. It did not make sense. Nothing in the creature's file suggested it could show mercy. It had killed thousands. It had torn moons apart. Why had it let them pass? Day-Wan, he looked up. Tae-Young stood there, his engineering uniform dirty with grease. He was the only other human in the engineering department. You are all over the ship. Everyone is talking about what you did. I just got someone out. That is my job. Your job is not walking past death and asking it politely to move. Tae-Young sat down next to him. Subin wants to check you for shock. She thinks maybe you are not processing what happened. Subin was the human medical officer. She was probably right. Daewon felt numb, like he was watching everything from far away. I am fine. You are not fine. Nobody would be fine. Tae-Yang leaned forward. But I am glad you are alive. When we saw you on the monitors, we thought you were dead. We all did. So did I. Commander Vex entered the medical bay, his forearms crossed. His bluestone skin looked darker than usual. Corporal Daewon. Come with me. Daewon stood. He expected anger. He had disobeyed a direct order. In the military, that meant punishment. Maybe discharge. He followed Vex into a private room. But Vex did not look angry. He looked confused. I watched the footage 12 times. I do not understand what happened. Explain it to me. I cannot explain it, sir. I needed to pass. It moved. It moved. A creature that has never shown mercy, never shown intelligence beyond base instinct, just moved aside for you. Vex's 4 hands gestured in frustration. Why? I do not know. Did you threaten it? Did you have a weapon we did not see? No, sir. I just asked. Vex was quiet for a long moment. The Coalition Command wants to destroy the ship. They want to evacuate everyone and send the Celestial Harmony into a star with that thing still inside. They say we cannot risk it escaping into populated space. Daewon felt his chest tighten. How long do we have? 72 hours. Unless we can prove the situation is under control. Vex looked at him with what might have been respect. Captain Jae-sung is arguing for another option. He wants to try communicating with it. With the Void Ripper? He says if it showed intelligence once, it can show it again. He wants you to go back. To try to make contact, Vex's voice was careful. I told him it was suicide. But he said it should be your choice. Daewon thought about those eyes, about the cold presence of something vast and old, about the way it had tilted its head, like it was trying to understand him. I will do it. You do not have to. Nobody expects you to face that thing twice. But if I do not, you will destroy the ship. You will kill it. It is not alive in the way you think. It is a weapon, a force of destruction. It let me pass, Daewon said quietly. Weapons do not choose mercy. 2 days later, Daewon stood outside the sealed bulkhead leading to Sector 7. With him were Yunhee, a human linguist, and 2 technicians carrying recording equipment. Yunhee was small and nervous, her hands shaking as she checked her translation devices. I study languages, she said, her voice tight. Dead languages. Languages from old books, not this. You are the best we have, Daewon said. It was true. Yunhee had learned 17 alien languages in 3 years. If anyone could understand the Void Ripper, it was her. It might not have language. It might just be an animal. Animals do not make choices like that. Captain Jae-sung's voice came through the communicator. He was on the bridge watching through their cameras. Team, you are authorized to proceed. The bulkhead will open for 30 seconds. That is enough time to enter and set up your equipment. If anything goes wrong, we will seal it immediately. Understood, Captain. Daewon looked at the others. Stay behind me. Let me go first. The bulkhead opened. The corridor beyond was dark. The emergency lights had failed. Daewon turned on his torch and stepped through. The others followed, moving quickly to set up the recording equipment and sensors. Then the bulkhead sealed behind them. They were inside. With it, Daewon's torch beam cut through the darkness. The corridor looked wrong. The walls had frost on them, even though the temperature should have been controlled. The metal was bent in some places, like something huge had pressed against it. And at the end of the corridor, in the shadows, something moved. The Void Ripper emerged slowly. It seemed bigger in the darkness. Its crystalline spikes caught the torchlight and split it into purple fragments. Its eyes opened, dozens of them glowing faintly. Yunhee made a small sound behind him. But she did not run. She started working with her equipment, hands moving quickly despite their shaking. Daewon stepped forward. We came to talk. To understand. His voice echoed in the corridor. You let us pass before. That means you can choose. That means you think. We want to know why. The Void Ripper did not move. It watched. Yunhee was scanning with different instruments, changing frequencies. I am picking up something, she whispered. Some kind of electromagnetic field. It is pulsing, like a pattern. Language. Maybe, but we cannot hear it. It is outside human audio range. Wait, she adjusted her equipment. A speaker crackled. Sound came through low and strange. It was like music, but also like words, but also like neither. It made Daewon's head hurt to listen to it. That is it, Yunhee breathed. It is communicating. It has been communicating the whole time. We just could not hear it. The Void Ripper's eyes brightened. It made another sound, and the speaker translated it into that same strange pattern. Can you translate it? Daewon asked. Not yet. I need time. This is completely new. But Yunhee looked up at the creature with wonder replacing her fear. It knows we are listening now. Look at it. It is trying to adjust. It is making its signals stronger in the frequencies we can detect. Over the next 3 hours, they worked. Yunhee built a translation matrix, comparing the creature's signals to known language patterns. The Void Ripper stayed still, watching, occasionally making sounds when Yunhee asked it to. Finally, as their time was running out, Yunhee's equipment beeped. Words appeared on her screen. Rough, incomplete. But words. Trapped. Long time, cold, alone. Daewon stared at the translation. It was lonely? More words appeared as the Void Ripper communicated. Not understand. They not listen, only cage. Only silence. The coalition, Yunhee said softly. They captured it and never tried to communicate. They just locked it up. Home, want home. Tried break free. They call it attack. The picture was becoming clear. The destroyed moons. The Void Ripper had been trying to escape, not destroy. The violence, it was panic, not malice. And all this time it had been trying to talk, but nobody had the right equipment to hear it. Why did you let us pass? Daewon asked. 2 days ago. You could have killed us. The translation took longer this time. The words came slowly. You give choice. You ask, not demand. Not force. You protect weak one. This is sacred. In my culture, we call it soul-bearing. You put life before fear. I cannot harm soul-bearer. Is highest wrong. Daewon felt something shift in his understanding of the galaxy. This creature was not a monster. It was a person. A person from a culture so different that the coalition had mistaken it for an animal. A person who had been in prison for years, screaming to be heard in a language nobody could detect. What is your name? He asked. The speaker crackled. Talmir. Last of the dimensional shepherds. I guard boundaries between spaces. I was sleeping between worlds when they found me. Took me. Caged me. I only want to return to my duty. To my home. Yunhee was crying. She did not seem to notice. Her hands moved over her equipment, recording everything. We have to tell them. The coalition has to know. They will not want to listen, Daewon said. They are afraid. Then we make them listen. Captain Jae-sung's voice came through the communicator. He had been watching and listening to everything. This changes everything. The coalition calls Talmir a monster, but we imprisoned him. We are the monsters in this story. What do we do? Daewon asked. We set him free, Jae-sung said. We find a way to send him home. It is the right thing to do. The coalition will never agree. They are already planning to destroy this ship. Then we do not ask for permission. We are humans. We do what is right, not what is easy. Daewon looked up at Talmir. The creature's many eyes watched him. In them he saw hope. He saw trust. He saw a person who had been alone for so long, finally being understood. We will help you, Daewon said. I promise. We will find a way to get you home. The speaker translated his words into Talmir's language. The creature made a sound, long and low. When Yunhee translated it, tears came to her eyes again. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, someone sees me. In that cold corridor surrounded by frost and shadow, 3 humans and an ancient being from between dimensions made a promise. They would fight the entire galactic coalition if they had to. They would risk everything. Because that was what humans did. They looked at the cages in the galaxy and asked a simple question. Who decided this was right? And The conference room was packed. Representatives from 20 different species sat around the long table, all of them talking at once. Captain Jae-sung stood at the head of the table waiting for the noise to die down. It did not. Commander Vex finally slammed two of his forehands on the table. The bang echoed through the room. Everyone stopped talking. Let the captain speak. Jae-sung nodded his thanks. He activated the display screen. The footage from Sector 7 began to play. The humans setting up equipment, Talmir emerging from the shadows, the translation happening in real time, and finally the words that had changed everything. Trapped, long time cold, alone. The room was silent now. They watched the entire recording. When it finished, the silence continued for a long moment. Then Ambassador Krell spoke. He was from the Vorath species, tall and thin with skin that changed colors based on emotion. Right now it was deep red. Anger. This proves nothing. Translation errors happen constantly. The creature might be manipulating you. It has a name, Daewon said from his position by the wall. He was not supposed to speak. He was just a corporal, but he could not stay quiet. His name is Talmir. Names do not make something sentient, Krell replied. My ship's computer has a name. That does not make it a person. Your computer did not spend years trying to communicate while being ignored. Yoon-hee stood up. She had spent 3 days barely sleeping, working on the translation matrix. Her eyes were red from exhaustion. I have analyzed the patterns. Talmir has a complex language, grammar, syntax, cultural references. This is not random noise. This is a person. A person who destroyed 3 moons, another ambassador said. This one was from a species that looked like living crystals. Thousands died. He was trying to escape, Hana said. She had been released from medical that morning. Read the full translation. Those moons were not random. They were prison facilities, classified ones. He was attacking the places where he thought he might find others like himself. That is speculation. So is calling him a monster, Captain Jae-sung said calmly. But we have proof he can communicate. We have proof he understands concepts like mercy and honor. We have proof the coalition never even tried to understand him before locking him away. What we do next will define us. Ambassador Krell's skin darkened further. What you do next? The coalition decides what happens to dangerous specimens, not individual captains, not humans who have been members for barely 5 years. Then the coalition can decide, Jae-sung said. I am calling for a formal review. Standard protocol. Before any being is permanently contained or terminated, there must be verification that communication has been attempted through all possible means. We have new means now. That will take months. Meanwhile, that thing sits on your ship, a danger to everyone. He has not tried to escape. He has not attacked anyone. He stays in Sector 7 because we asked him to. Does that sound like a mindless beast? The arguments went on for hours. Some species sided with the humans. Others called for immediate destruction. A few suggested compromise solutions, transfer Talmir to a more secure facility, attempt further communication but under controlled conditions. Daewon stopped listening after a while. He slipped out of the conference room and made his way back to Sector 7. The guards at the bulkhead knew him now. They let him through without question. Inside, Talmir waited in the darkness. Daewon had brought a portable version of Yoon-hee's translation device. It was not as good as the big one, but it worked well enough. They are arguing about you, Daewon said. Some want to help. Some want you dead. The device translated Talmir's response. Expected. Fear is easier than understanding. Your species knows this. You were feared once, yes? Before the coalition accepted you?
How did you know?
I feel it. The way you move. The way you speak. You understand what it is to be misunderstood. Talmir shifted in the darkness. Tell me about your world. I wish to know the place that creates soul-bearers. So Daewon talked. He told Talmir about Earth, about blue skies and oceans, about cities that glowed at night, about music and art and the 1,000 small beauties that made life worth living. He told him about wars too, about mistakes and cruelties and all the ways humans had hurt each other before learning to do better. Your people have known cages too, Talmir said. Different cages, but cages still. Yes, we built them ourselves mostly. Then we broke them. It took a long time. That is why you see me. Not the cage. Not the monster inside. You see the person who wants freedom. What is your world like? Your home? Talmir's response took longer. Not a world. A place between spaces where dimensions meet. We live there, the shepherds. We watch the boundaries. Make sure nothing tears through that should not. It is duty, it is purpose. It is, the translation paused. Your language has no word. It is the thing you do because you must. Because not doing it would mean you are not yourself. Calling, Day One said. We call that a calling. Yes, that word fits. It is my calling. I was doing it when they found me. I was resting between duties. They pulled me into this dimension and I could not return. The way back requires specific frequencies, specific positions. I tried to find them. That is what they called destruction. I was trying to open doors home. The pieces fell into place in Day One's mind. The destroyed moons had been near-dimensional weak points. Talmir had not been attacking. He'd been trying to create a doorway. If we help you find the right place, can you go home? Yes, but they will not help. They fear what I am. Some of them fear you, but not all of us. Over the next week, something unexpected happened. More humans started visiting Sector 7. Taeyang came to ask Talmir about dimensional engineering. Subin came to understand his biology. Other human crew members just came to talk, to ask questions, to listen. Talmir answered all of them. He told stories of the spaces between spaces. He described colors that did not exist in normal reality. He explained how his people had given up physical form to become guardians, choosing service over comfort. We were like you once, he said one day when several humans had gathered, flesh and blood and bone. We evolved. We became more, but we chose to go backward in some ways, to keep form, to keep identity, because guardians must be able to choose. A force cannot choose. A person can. That is what we have been trying to tell them, Yunhee said, that you are a person. They will learn, or they will not. But I am grateful for this time, for being heard, even if it is only by you. The formal review came back. The coalition had voted. Talmir would be transferred to a maximum security facility where communication attempts could continue under proper supervision. It was a compromise that satisfied no one and angered everyone. They are putting you in another cage, Day One said. A bigger cage with better guards, but still a cage. I know. We could help you escape before they transfer you. No, Talmir's response was firm. That would make them more afraid. Make them hate your people. I will not repay your kindness with trouble for you. But Captain Jae-sung had other ideas. He called a meeting of just the humans on board. 32 people crammed into the small briefing room. He stood before them and spoke plainly. The coalition has given us a choice. Let them take Talmir, or become criminals by helping him escape. If we do nothing, he goes to a facility where he might spend the rest of eternity in a cell. If we help him, we risk our careers, maybe our freedom. We might be expelled from the coalition. So we help him, Taeyang said immediately. It is not that simple, Jae-sung replied. This affects all of you, your families, your futures. I need everyone to agree or we do not do this. Won-soo spoke up. He was the oldest human on the ship, a security officer who rarely talked. My grandfather spent 20 years in prison for believing the wrong thing. He died there, never free. He looked around the room. I joined the coalition because I thought we were past that. Thought the galaxy was better, but it is just bigger cages. Cleaner cages. Still cages. I vote we help, Subin said. I became a doctor to help people. Talmir is a person. That means he is my patient. My duty. One by one they voted. Every single human agreed. They would help Talmir get home, whatever the cost. Then we need a plan, Jae-sung said. We cannot just blast our way out. We need to be smart about this. I have an idea, Yunhee said quietly, but you are not going to like it. Her idea was simple and completely insane. They would not sneak Talmir off the ship. They would ask permission to take him to a dimensional nexus point, claiming it was for further research. They would use real science to justify it, and once there, they would help him signal his people and go home. They will never approve it, someone said. They might, Yunhee replied, if we frame it right. If we make them think it is their idea. We leak data suggesting that Talmir's biology might hold keys to dimensional travel. Suggest that further study near a nexus point could yield valuable information. The coalition loves new technology. That is manipulative. Yes, but it might work, and it does not hurt anyone. They debated for hours, but in the end they agreed. It was risky. but it gave Talmir a chance without making the humans into outlaws. The next day, Captain Jae-sung submitted a formal research proposal. The Coalition Science Committee reviewed it. They asked questions. The New Dawn was smaller than the Celestial Harmony, built for research rather than containment. It had a crew of 15, including the 5 humans. The rest were scientists from other species, all curious about the dimensional nexus and what secrets Talmir might reveal. What they did not know was that the humans had no intention of bringing Talmir back. Captain Jae-sung stood on the bridge, watching the stars. They had been traveling for 5 days. The Andros Nexus was still 3 days away. Behind him, the door opened. Commander Vex entered. He had insisted on coming, saying he did not trust the situation. "Captain, we need to talk," Jae-sung turned. "About what?" "About what you are really doing. I am not stupid. I have watched your crew. They are too relaxed for people on a research mission. They act like people on a one-way trip. I do not know what you mean. You are going to release it. Him, Talmir. You are going to let him go and claim it was an accident, a dimensional instability, something unpredictable." Vex's 4 arms crossed. "Am I wrong?" Jae-sung considered lying. But Vex deserved better. "No, you are not wrong. Then you are a fool. The Coalition will destroy you for this. They will make sure no human ever gets a command position again. They will use you as an example. Probably. And you are doing it anyway." "Yes." Vex was quiet for a moment. His blue stone skin shifted color slightly, something that happened when his species was thinking hard. Why throw away everything for one being? Even if he is sentient, even if he deserves freedom, why sacrifice yourself? Because someone has to. Because the Coalition is wrong about this, and if we do not stand up for what is right, we are just as wrong. Jae-sung met Vex's eyes. "You asked me once why humans see things differently. This is why. We have a history of people who stood up when they should not have, who said no when everyone else said yes. It cost them everything. But they did it anyway, and slowly things got better. Your species is going to get itself killed with this attitude. Maybe, but we will die free." Vex uncrossed his arms. "I should report this to the Coalition immediately." "You should. But I am not going to." Vex moved to stand next to Jae-sung, looking out at the stars. "I have been thinking about what Talmir said, about fear being easier than understanding. My people once enslaved another species. We told ourselves they were not really sentient, not really people. It took a war to prove us wrong. Thousands died, and afterward we promised we would never do that again. We would never dehumanize another being." He used the human word deliberately. "But here we are, doing it again. Just with better reasons. So what will you do?" "I will help you. And I will probably lose my rank alongside you. But that is acceptable." They shook hands, human custom. Vex had learned to appreciate it. There was something honest about touching another person when you made a promise. Down in the cargo bay, Daewon sat with Talmir. The dimensional being had been quiet during the journey, saving his energy. Speaking through the translator took effort in normal space. "It would be easier once they reached the Nexus. Are you afraid?" Daewon asked. "Of going home? No, of failing to reach it?" "Yes, of what happens to you after. Very much yes, do not worry about us. We knew what we were choosing. That does not make the consequences lighter." Su Bin entered, carrying her medical scanner. She had been monitoring Talmir's condition throughout the trip. "Your energy levels are still stable. Better than stable, actually. You are getting stronger." The Nexus calls to me. I can feel it even from here, like a current pulling me forward. "That is good, right?" Daewon asked. "Yes, it means the doorway is there. I will be able to pass through." Talmir paused. "But I worry. What if others of my kind have died? What if I return to emptiness?" "Then you will not be alone in the emptiness anymore," Su Bin said gently. "You will be home. That matters." In the navigation room, Tae-yang was working with Yun-hee. They were plotting the exact approach to the Nexus. It had to be perfect. Too close and the ship would be torn apart by dimensional stress. Too far and Talmir would not be able to signal effectively. "Here," Tae-yang said, pointing to a spot on the star map. "We drop out of faster-than-light travel at this point. Coast in on normal drives. It gives Talmir 20 minutes to make contact before we have to retreat." 20 minutes, Yun-hee repeated. "Is that enough?" "It will have to be. Any longer and the ship's hull will start breaking down. Dimensional nexus points are not friendly to normal matter. Nothing about this mission is friendly to anything. Tai Yang smiled. That is what makes it interesting. On the sixth day, alarms started going off. Not on the New Dawn, on the Coalition Communication Network. They received an emergency transmission from Fleet Command. Ambassador Krell's face appeared on the screen. His color was angry red. Captain Jae-sung, we have received intelligence that suggests you are planning to release Subject 47. You are ordered to turn your ship around immediately and return to the Celestial Harmony. Failure to comply will be treated as an act of rebellion. Jae-sung did not look surprised. Someone had talked. Or perhaps the Coalition had simply been more suspicious than he thought. Ambassador, our mission parameters have not changed. We are conducting research as approved. Do not insult me with lies. We know what you are doing. We are dispatching 3 interceptor ships. They will reach you in 18 hours. If you release that creature, they will destroy your ship. You would kill your own people to stop this? We would stop a dangerous criminal from making a catastrophic mistake. The humans on your ship will be given the chance to surrender before any action is taken. The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Then Commander Vex spoke. 18 hours. We are 2 days from the Nexus. Then we go faster, Jae-sung said. Captain, the ship is not built for high-speed travel through this region. The dimensional stress will do what? Kill us slightly faster than the interceptors? Jae-sung turned to his crew. Everyone needs to hear this. We are now officially criminals. The Coalition is sending ships to stop us. We can turn back, surrender, face whatever punishment they decide. Or we can keep going, reach the Nexus and probably not survive the trip. I want to vote. Everyone gets a say, the crew gathered. 15 people from 8 different species. Jae-sung explained the situation clearly. No sugarcoating, no false hope. Just the truth, we keep going, Daewon said immediately. Agreed, Yunhee added. One by one, every human voted to continue. Then the alien crew members spoke. Some were afraid. Some were angry at being lied to. But in the end, 12 of them voted to keep going. Only 3 wanted to turn back. Then we make an escape pod ready for those 3, Jae-sung said. You have done nothing wrong. You did not know about our plan. The Coalition will understand that. The 3 crew members who wanted to leave did so. The escape pod launched, heading back toward Coalition space. The New Dawn turned toward the Nexus and pushed its engines beyond safe limits. The ship shook. Warning lights flashed. Tai-young worked in the engine room, constantly adjusting the power flow to keep everything from exploding. Subin treated crew members who were getting sick from the dimensional stress. Yunhee monitored the approach, calculating and recalculating their trajectory. Daewon stayed with Talmir. The dimensional being was changing. His form became less solid, more like shadow with substance. The Nexus was calling him home and he was answering. Will you forget us? Daewon asked. When you return to your people? Never. You taught me that prisons are not always made of walls. Sometimes they are made of fear and misunderstanding, and you taught me that the keys to those prisons are simple. Listening, seeing, choosing to believe that the strange and frightening might also be a friend. We are going to die doing this, probably. I want you to know that I think it is worth it. The greatest souls are often the briefest flames. You burn brightly, Daewon. All of you. Your whole species. So bright it hurts to look at sometimes. But I am grateful I could see it. 12 hours later, they reached the outer edge of the Nexus. Space looked wrong here. Stars bent in impossible directions. Colors existed that should not. The ship groaned under the stress. Hull integrity at 70% and dropping, Vex reported. Keep us stable, Jae-sung ordered. Talmir, can you feel it? Through the translator, Talmir's voice came strong and clear for the first time in years. The Nexus was giving him power. Yes, yes. They are here. My people are here. I can feel them. Then call them. Bring them through. Show the galaxy what you really are. Talmir moved to the cargo bay window. His form expanded, becoming huge, filling the entire space. He began to sing, if singing was the right word. It was a sound that existed in dimensions the humans could not fully perceive, but they felt it. In their bones, in their hearts. And from the Nexus something answered. The space between spaces opened, and through it came the others. Dozens of beings like Talmir emerged, each one vast and terrible and beautiful. They moved through space like dancers, like guardians. like ancient things that had existed since the beginning and would exist until the end. Hull integrity at 40%, Vex said quietly. We need to retreat. Not yet, Jae-sung said. The courtroom was enormous. It had to be to hold representatives from 30 different species, all gathered to witness the trial of the New Dawn crew. Daewon sat with the other humans in the defendant section. They wore simple clothes, not uniforms. The coalition had stripped them of rank the moment they returned. The charges were serious. Unauthorized release of a classified specimen, disobeying direct orders, reckless endangerment of coalition assets. Each charge carried years of prison time. Together they could mean life. But Daewon felt calm. He looked around the courtroom and saw something the prosecutors had not expected. Half the gallery was full of humans, not just from their ship. Humans from across coalition space had come to watch. Some held signs, some just sat quietly. But their message was clear. The New Dawn crew did not stand alone. High Judge Mortek called the room to order. She was ancient, her species living for centuries. Her skin was like tree bark and her voice resonated like distant thunder. This trial concerns the actions of Captain Jae-sung and his crew aboard the research vessel New Dawn. They are accused of deliberately releasing a contained entity classified as an extinction-level threat. How do you plead? Jae-sung stood. Guilty, Your Honor. We did exactly what they say we did. And we would do it again. Murmurs filled the courtroom. Mortek raised one hand for silence. You confess? You understand this simplifies prosecution? I understand. But I will not lie about what we did. We freed someone who was wrongly imprisoned. That is the truth. The prosecution presented their case over 3 days. They showed footage of the destroyed moons. They presented testimony from scientists who called Talmir a dangerous anomaly. They argued that the humans had endangered billions of lives by releasing something they did not understand. These humans acted on emotion, not logic, the prosecutor said. They anthropomorphized a creature based on limited data. They put their feelings above the safety of the entire galaxy. Then it was the defense's turn. Yun-hee took the stand first. She explained her translation work. She played recordings of Talmir's communications. She showed point by point how the dimensional being had language, culture, and moral understanding. This was not a creature, she said. This was a person. A person we had imprisoned without trial, without even attempting to understand. If we did that to any other coalition species, we would call it a war crime. Why is it different because Talmir looked strange? The prosecutor objected. The defendant is comparing a specimen to a person. This is exactly the kind of emotional reasoning that led to this disaster. Where is the disaster? Yun-hee shot back. Show me. Talmir returned home. No one was hurt. No worlds were destroyed. The only disaster is that we are on trial for doing the right thing, Hana testified next. She explained her research into the destroyed moons. Every single one was a site of dimensional instability. Talmir was not attacking randomly. He was trying to prevent catastrophic rifts. He was doing his job, the job his people have done for eons. We locked up a guardian and called him a monster. The trial continued for 2 weeks. Every day more humans filled the gallery. And slowly, members of other species began to join them. Species who had been mistreated by the coalition. Species who remembered being new and afraid and judged before they were understood. On the 15th day, something unexpected happened. Commander Vex took the stand. Not as a defendant, but as a witness for the defense. The prosecutor looked confused. Commander Vex, you filed the initial report that led to these arrests. Why are you testifying for the defense? Because I was wrong. Vex looked directly at the judges. I watched these humans risk everything for one being. I thought they were fools. But then I asked myself, when was the last time I risked anything for what was right? When was the last time any of us did? He gestured to the courtroom. We have created a galaxy that is very good at following rules, very good at maintaining order, but we have forgotten how to question whether our rules are just. These humans remembered. They looked at our system and found it lacking. That does not make them criminals. It makes them conscious. The prosecution tried to discredit him, but Vex had evidence. He presented classified files showing that the coalition had known about Talmir's attempts to communicate. They had ignored the data because it was easier to treat him as a specimen than as a person who deserved rights. The courtroom erupted. Mortek called for order, but the damage was done. The coalition's case was falling apart. Then Daewon was called to testify. He walked to the stand aware that millions were watching across the galaxy. His testimony was being broadcast live. Corporal Daewon, the prosecutor, began. You were the first to make contact with Subject 47. You claim he let you pass, that he showed mercy. But is it not possible that he simply did not see you as a threat? That letting you pass required no mercy at all? No, Daewon said simply. How can you be certain? Because I felt it. I looked at him and he looked at me and something passed between us. Recognition. He knew I was afraid. He knew he could kill me, and he chose not to. That is not the action of a mindless beast. But you are not a scientist. You are a security guard. How can you claim to understand an alien entity better than trained researchers? Because I listened, and they did not. The prosecutor paused. You believe listening is more important than training? Than expertise? I believe listening is the start of all expertise. You cannot understand something you refuse to hear. The prosecutor tried a different angle. These dimensional beings, these shepherds, they offered humanity protection. Is that not convenient? That you risk everything to free one of them, and suddenly they offer to protect your species? They offered friendship. That is different, is it? Or did you make a deal? Freedom for protection? We did not know they would offer anything. We freed Talmir because it was right. What came after was not payment. It was gratitude. There is a difference. You are very naive, Corporal. Maybe. But I am not cruel. I did not see a person suffering and choose to look away. Can you say the same? The prosecutor had no response to that. Daewon returned to his seat. Jae-sung squeezed his shoulder. Well said. The final week of trial saw character witnesses. Human and non-human crew members testified about the journey to the Nexus, about the choice everyone made to continue despite the danger, about how Talmir had helped shield the ship during their escape. He saved us, Taeyang said. The being we freed turned around and saved our lives. If he was really a monster, why would he do that? Subin showed medical scans. Talmir's biology was deteriorating in normal space. Every year in containment was like poison to him. A few more years and he would have died. We did not just free him. We saved his life. On the last day before closing arguments, something extraordinary happened. The courtroom's communication system activated. A message was coming through. Not from Coalition space, from the dimensional nexus. Talmir's voice filled the courtroom, translated into every language present. I have been listening to this trial. My people have been listening. We are confused. These humans are being punished for showing mercy, for choosing understanding over fear. Is this truly justice? High Judge Mortek spoke, her voice careful. Talmir, you are the subject of this trial. Your perspective is noted, but my perspective, I am not a subject. I am a person, and these people are my friends. They saw me when no one else would. They risked everything for me, and now you wish to punish them? Talmir's voice became firmer. My people have watched the boundaries between dimensions for longer than your civilizations have existed. We have seen species rise and fall, and we have learned something. The species that survive, that thrive, that truly evolve, they are not the strongest. They are not the most advanced. They are the ones who choose compassion over convenience. These humans chose compassion. That is why they will endure when others fall. The courtroom was completely silent. Then Talmir spoke again. I offer testimony. I offer truth. The Coalition imprisoned me for 11 years. 11 years of silence, of isolation, of being studied like an object. I attacked your facilities not from malice but from desperation. I destroyed your moons not from hatred but from duty. Those sites were becoming dimensional tears that would have killed millions. But you never asked. You never listened. And when I finally found someone who would listen, you call them criminals. If showing mercy is a crime, then your laws are unjust. And unjust laws must be changed. With that, the transmission ended. The judges conferred quietly among themselves. Then Mortek spoke. This trial will recess for 24 hours while we consider all testimony. The next day, the courtroom reconvened. The entire galaxy seemed to be watching. The judges entered, and Mortek stood to deliver the verdict. We have reviewed all evidence and testimony. This trial has revealed uncomfortable truths about Coalition protocols regarding contained entities. It has shown that our procedures for determining sentience are flawed, that our first response to fear is often containment rather than understanding. She paused. The defendants acted outside their authority. They did break regulations, but they did so in service of a